So I'm in a workplace, big auditorium, graduated, like a movie or something. I start down the steps, crowded, full of employees. I start down the steps, and somebody stands up in the room and says very aggressively, very loudly, I hope you're not going to tell me to love those homosexuals, because my Bible tells me that a man laying with another man as with a woman is an abomination. I think it's disgusting, and I'm not going to do it. Well, since I had not even said a word yet, the first order of business was, well, good morning to you too. And then I said to him, I've contracted with your employer to come here today to talk to you about some things that are of very serious nature for your employer. He's worried because of the potential for liability. So I'm going to do what I was contracted to do. And if you have a problem with what we discussed by the end of the day, you need to talk to your employer about it. 2, let me be clear from the beginning that this is America. You get to like anybody you want to. No matter what it is, I'll defend your right to do it. What you don't have a right to do is to use those thoughts and translate them into action that then gets your employer in trouble and they have to pay for. That you don't have a right to do. 3, given your argument, you're going to have to expand that group some, okay? Because it's all going to be sin under your estimation. So let's add in the liars, the fornicators, the adulterers, the drunks, the people that covet their wives, their neighbors' wives, okay? Add them all in there, and then maybe it'll be a credible argument. 4th, you're hired. You're here to do a job. I'm sort of worried about why you're spending so much time thinking about the sex lives of your coworkers. Okay, what's that about? They laughed just like you did. And he visibly relaxed. And to the surprise of everybody in the room, he said, I never thought about it like that before. That makes perfect sense. Whoa, thank you for that. And he sat down. Okay? So it works. I promise you. If you figure out what your messages are, stop being so judgmental, use the golden rule, you will end up having far fewer workplace discrimination claims.
For more than 40 years working as a wire service correspondent, television sports anchor, TV talk show host, television feature reporter, writer, producer and director, screenwriter and communication coach, Dennis Tardan has taken all his experience, dreams, and ambitions and created the Tardan Media Network. TMN will allow him to have the evocative and provocative conversations and content he is known for, as well as being the platform for creators making a positive difference so needed in this world. After gathering a brilliant team without whom none of this would be possible, Dennis has embarked on his venture he terms Programming for the New Golden Age of Television. Stay tuned. Welcome, Dennis. I set that up a few days ago and I forgot all about it. And when I hit record, it did. So now I know I need to say, I'm about to record. Wow.
I just feel like we're on TV.
Right. I like the way our conversations have been going.
I see in life are about perspective. You know, like what is in the forefront and what is in the background. And what we're seeing in the anti-DEI movement that is going on is only bringing up why diversity, equity, and inclusion are so important and how much they enrich our lives in every single way. And that's what we're getting an opportunity to do today. And that's why I'm so grateful to see that you're focusing on this, because we have to have this. This is not a nice to have. We've seen. I'm 77 years old, and I have seen, in the time when I was growing up, it was the Mad Men time. So if you've ever watched that television program, you can see that this was a time when white men were in charge in politics, in business, even in the home. Ostensibly, it wasn't always that way, but that was certainly the default state. And we could take it so far. And the way I look at it, from my perspective, is that the world, when it was a zero sum game, when there was win loss, when there was land to be conquered, when there was a particular our cultural revolution and our business revolution and economics was very much in a zero sum game. So it was, men are ideally suited for, we're ideally suited for, go out, take that hill, conquer this. We white men didn't invent, but we began to use weapons of mass destruction, which were the guns, the flintlocks that first happened. And so we were able to take land. When we came to the United States, we were able to take the indigenous people, the First Nation, and push them off and win. And so all that was working for us, and it was working in the culture. But things have gotten, certainly, and I'm just going to put a benchmark, and just to say that at 2000, let's just say at the year 2000, things began to be getting more complex than a zero sum could work. There was no way that this idea of a vector of, I got to get all for me, and if I lose something, that means it has to come out. If I give you something, that means it has to come out of my piece, and I lose. That doesn't work that way. The concept of synergy, of where we have 1 + 1 is greater than 2. That is where we are, and that's where it began to go. And this is where having women, having people of all colors, people of all genders, and of a particular LGBTQ coming into the process, because we need to have our thoughts. The diversity that I feel that is most important is the diversity that we have in our minds, that we're able to see things from different perspectives. That is what I'm seeing, and so that's why this anti-DEI movement that we're seeing is bringing this in a much greater relief now, so that we can actually see just exactly where the value is. Thus endeth the lecture.
Whoa. Oh, that's not the end of the lecture by you, by any.
Doesn't my lecture, but I'm hoping that stimulates something that we can talk about.
Yes.
Yes. Everything that you just said, Dennis, is really like the first point we were going to bring up, right? Except the last part would be me asking you, how does that relate to your recording life when you've been, all of this time that you've been in media? How does that relate to your work in that area?
It relates because I feel like I am a documentarian of the growth of society through the people that I get a chance to meet. I believe every one of us is identically unique. So therefore, we get this opportunity. I get this opportunity as an interviewer. I get an opportunity to be able to say, what is it like to be you? And that's where I think that those of us those of us humans, we miss that. We miss that. We get so self-centered that we forget that what it's like to be you is different from what it's like to be me. And so during my life, I have invested in my career in trying to find out what is your life experience. And the deeper I get into it, the deeper I see the uniqueness of each individual. The metaphor that I most groove to is that there is a center. Let's just say that there is a center, and the center is the one. Let's say the center is one, and from this center, these rays go out from the center. So they go out, and each one of those rays is of equal value, but it has a different vector and a slightly different perspective from where. So there'll be a ray over here, and there'll be a ray over here, but those rays are of equal value. But I don't know if I can find out what's this ray like. Even though, because each one of us will live, will be born, will live, and will die. But during that ray experience, I get an opportunity to learn what it's like to be that ray. That's what I get when I talked with you, when I had you on the show, and Dr. BA, what I had when you on the show, to be able to see that these rays and to have that perspective. But when I only can see it from my own perspective, when I'm only looking at it from my own ray, it is very egocentric and very self-centered. And I have to do that. And in my interviewing, it has opened up my heart. It has opened up my mind to see that your experience is different from my experience, and what value can I get from both of us being in this life, but you telling me and helping me to experience what it is like to be you.
Dennis, why are you understanding the importance of that and so many people are not? Tell us something about your journey that made it so you ended up getting to this point where we see so few people who look like you. And notice I said look like you.
Exactly.
Okay? They don't all have
those of us who are bald, those of us who are melanin deficient, and those of us with the correct chromosomal structure that makes us to be men. And that's very difficult. I think it has to do, Doctor, I think it has to do with the fear principle that I talked about earlier about the zero-sum game. I believe that so many of us white men believe that there is only so much pie to go around.
How'd you get that memo then?
Mine came from a spiritual perspective. I grew up and I went into metaphysics, and in metaphysics, and this the concept is that the universe is always expanding, that the universe only has one answer to every question, and that's yes. Oh, life is so hard. I'm just such a, I'm a burden. I just can't. Yes. Life is wonderful, and I'm blessed, and I get a chance to meet it. Yes. So it matters what question that I ask. So in going through this, I had an opportunity to go into metaphysics, and then I had an opportunity, a couple of psychedelic experiences. I had some other work that opened me up to that there is more than just my own perspective. And being able to do that, being able to see things from another point of view opened my heart, and it opened my mind. And so, and I find that any time that my mind closes, it's always because I'm afraid. And that's what I'm seeing in all of this. Any time that I'm seeing people who want to put diversity, equity, and inclusion to make it is always out of fear. What am I going to lose if I invest in diversity? What am I going to lose? Never what we're going to gain. What might be the value? look at diversity. Let's just look at the concept of diversity, because I think the diversity is the key to equity and inclusion. Because once we have diversity, once we have made sure that my mind is being populated by more thoughts than just my own experience, or those who have the same experiences I do, then everything changes.
So for you, metaphysics, which is extraordinary, many more people should access it. For you,
Exactly.
that was the key that allowed you to be more open.
Yes. Well, and also, I mean, my mother. It was so funny when. All right, we're in Tennessee, and I'm in the 5th grade. So this is 1959, and we're going to Victoria, Texas, which integrated early. And this will be my first opportunity to ever be around anyone other to go to school with, to be in a classroom, in an integrated classroom. And I remember asking my mother, well, how should I treat them? What do I do? I actually asked her this question, and she said, like everybody else. It was simple, it was direct, and it was life-changing.
Isn't that amazing? It's so simple.
Like everybody else.
Anybody can follow
And
it.
that is that from that moment on. And my mother was in the theater, so we had a lot of gay friends and a lot of people who were in the theater who would be marginalized by the culture. So I got a chance to be immersed in this. So that helped me, and that helped me to experience people in different ways. And so that made the seeds that opened my heart and opened my mind. And then during the 60s, and then during the early 70s, when women's rights were coming out, when we were really trying to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed, and really to see. And so I got a chance to really invest in that, because I feel this is why I feel so aligned with you both, because I feel that line one in diversity is making sure that we have women at the table, that we have women at the decision-making table, and we have that. Because once we get that, because I think about, look around the world, Russia, Ukraine, who is at that peace table? Gaza and Israel, who's at that peace table? Just look at and because I try to think about, I do a thought experiment. I think of, all right, let's go back to 9/11, and let's go back to the hijackers that were there, and while they're planning. And in this thought experiment, I go, imagine that half of the people who were assigned that assignment were women. Half of them. Do you think the same result would have happened?
Mm-hmm.
We get different results when we have women at the table. We have different ways of thinking. There's different ways of processing information. We need you so much. We are over masculine and under feminine in all these difficult challenges we have. So step one for me in diversity is making sure that we have that reflects the population. We have that in our government and in our business structures. And if we don't, why not?
Good question.
A very good question.
Yeah.
I mean, is it talent? Really? Really? Have you looked at the talent? Is it they're not applying? Well, what would you do? What would you do to remedy that? Why would you? Why are we 80 and 90% in these businesses and in currently in government and currently in our legislatures? Why? Why are we over masculine and under? What is going on?
It's almost like it's counterintuitive, because if you say what you want is the best talent, you want to make the best kinds of decisions, most comprehensive decisions for whatever it is you're doing, whether it's selling things or making things or whatever. Why wouldn't you have all the voices there that end up being impacted by it, who could bring something to it that may be a ray in a different direction, so that you could have a more comprehensive result for what it is you want? Do you have any thought, Dennis, at all, that sex comes into that picture of excluding women because men just can't concentrate as well or something if women are in the room, or they haven't learned, they haven't been acculturated to take us as serious people who are contributing, as opposed to being somewhere on a sex object spectrum?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It's part of this is part of our maturation. We as men have not matured past our ability to see women as leaders, to see women as equals, and to be able to treat women. Absolutely. And I don't know the way past that other than to call it out. I love the idea of transparency. Imagine if every meeting that we had, that there was no such thing as a closed door meeting, that every meeting that we had was recorded and was open. Let's
Can you?
do that.
Oh
Let's just say that everything
Ponder
is,
that for a moment.
let's try that, and just to see how would that make a difference? Because if I am not willing to have the key constituents, and certainly there are privacy concerns. Let's say a company has proprietary, and so you wouldn't want to do that. But within that proprietary structure, who are the people that have an investment in that constituency, and why wouldn't you want them to know everything that you're saying? What is the problem? So once we do that, once I can say that anything that I'm doing in my business that has to do with the business must have transparency. That's one of the things that I feel like today, when we're seeing both the immigration and customs enforcement, the ICE people being masked. Not only are they being masked, but the people they are deputizing. They are deputizing people that are not even actual federal officers, and letting that. So this lack of transparency works whether it's in the boardroom, in the CEO, or whether it's not on the street. So as we've said, and as thank God we're doing this on John Lewis's birthday, that we're getting a chance to have this. That just means so much to me. That we're doing this. That transparency is the best. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so I think that's one of the ways that we can deal with sex. So that if I'm going to do anything, or I'm going to have anything in a situation, I need to, that is in a business situation, that is not a personal situation, then I should be able to do this in front of everyone. And I think that would help some, and it would help men in that situation. But no, I don't think that we've matured quite well enough at this time. And I do believe that that's a significant factor, Dr. B.A.
Which is such a sad thing to say. Because women are there thinking this is just about what I can bring to the table. I mean, we're at work, right? Or civic meeting or whatever it is. And as it turns out, there's this whole other agenda going on, this a whole other thought process, which is, I think, why we're still struggling with things that to me make no sense whatsoever, like sexual harassment. Really? I mean, once you've been told that that's a problem, you still can't get it together? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, you're at work. Why are you thinking about that? Which is a big piece, I think, of why not talking about that, Dennis. And I'm so glad we're able to do that with you. Not talking about that doesn't help that at all, because one of the things that we have to realize is that if you do not talk about it in the way that you should, the real way that you should, it doesn't end up getting resolved.
No,
Okay.
no,
It
it doesn't.
ends up getting resolved. And I graduated from law school 50 years ago this year. And I can remember, bless their hearts, I love my classmates, but I can remember, or even in undergraduate school where I did a report in my non-statistical methods of research course in men having extramarital liaisons. And one of the questions that men told me to ask was whether it was possible for a man to just be friends with a female. And I didn't understand that question. And when I got to law school, I understood it a bit more, because I'm just there to study the law. Okay. That's all that's on my mind. I mean, occasionally I might be able to do something else, but I mean, basically that's it. And as it turns out, somebody says, okay, well, all the guys got together and we decided that you need to, like, wear dresses more because we want to see your legs. And I'm like, what the hell do my legs have to do with anything? We're all here just studying the law. Like, seriously? And that idea of being taken seriously as a female who's just dealing with the law just shouldn't have been that much of a struggle. I mean, I just kind of had to put it out of my head all the time.
Yep.
But it really is a real thing. And if you think about it, that, and as well as the kind of ideas we have about other people that are not like us, end up being so much of what undermines the whole concept of DEI, the inability, which is what you got from metaphysics, the inability to be able to see people for who they truly are, as opposed to what society has acculturated you to see them as. Men are acculturated to see women as sexual objects. They
Yep.
can clean it up, but the truth is that's always a part of the equation for them. If you think about some of the situations that have been the more prominent ones, the looks of the females have been a part of what was on the table for folks in high positions. And it just,
Absolutely.
right, the guys don't, it doesn't matter how they look, but for the females, you got to be good looking in order to present yourself. First thing, president, just the other day, the president said about somebody was that they were good looking. She was a good looking female. It's like, what are you talking about? We are in a high level political meeting. Why is that even an issue? Why is it on your head?
Exactly. And the fact that it's out there and it's not even commented upon. It's not even commented upon about why. What does that have to do? And the important thing is that it's everything. It's
You're right.
everything. This is your value. This is your value. And that now you have to run with that, and you have to do with it. And it's so juvenile. And that's really where the thing that
Very
bothers me
juvenile.
most is that that's where it is. It's junior freaking high school, and it's
Yeah.
not, and we're not even being able to have the kind of discussions that we need to have. And so when we know that when we're in that level, it ends up truncating all of our conversations and the possibilities of being able to have conversations, because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot
Oh my.
in every aspect. We're seeing AI come in to our world, which is changing everything. It's coming in and it's broader than any of us have had a chance to experience or known in our whole lives. So we're seeing this happen, and we're seeing this happen now. We're seeing the speed of life. I mean, I cannot go into any place that has a waiting room and make eye contact with anyone. People used to have magazines in waiting rooms, but now everyone is on their phone. So we're already hybrid. We're already in this opportunity to be able to say, okay, our lives are online. Our lives, we have these phones, and we already have these external. So what happens to humanity? What happens to the personal one-to-one connection? And that's really the place where I'm working, the place where I'm working with you, and where I'm working with Renee, and you, Dr. BA. I'm getting a chance to be able to do this, and that's why I wanted to come on today, is because I see that as you two are working on that, making those connections that we can grow, and we can grow ourselves and be able to make this a much more enjoyable. I mean, this is the whole thing about DEI, is that this is to make the world better for everyone, including those people who are afraid and don't want to let them in. They just don't realize it. They haven't gotten a chance to experience what you and I have gotten a chance to experience. The world is much better. It's much richer when we include and we learn from others and we grow. It's so much better than having these gated islands that are trying to preserve something that we think is just for us. It's so much better.
And Dennis, that does not exclude is the fear. And as far as I'm concerned, there are only two emotions, fear and love.
Yes.
Everything comes out of those two. It does not exclude white males from that equation.
Thank you. That's
Thank
the
you.
whole thing. It's not an either or. It's not an either or. It's an and gate.
No, it isn't.
You know,
Right. And when you say inclusion, that's everybody. Everyone's included.
and that's the false narrative. That's the false narrative that we keep hearing, is that if I am going to value you, that must mean that I devalue me. No, you've got that wrong. You've got that backwards. It means that you are going to grow and your life is going to be richer. My life, by including you. And I have experienced this over and over. When you were talking about my history, what I have found is that the more inclusive I am, the more I invest in equity and inclusion, the richer my life gets in every single way. It gets it materially, it gets it emotionally, it gets it spiritually. I get everything. And yes, when we're talking, and this is the one of the things that I don't quite know how to deal with, is the concept of, what is the concept of enough? How many billions will it take for you to go, you know what? I got enough.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable question to ask. That's a reasonable question for people to say, is what would enough be? Okay, if you can just say, give me that number. Okay, 15 billion. That will be enough. Once I get there, I'm going to say, you know what? I got enough. But it doesn't seem to be a question that ever gets asked.
You know, Dennis, I spent yesterday looking at on PBS, which the Senate last night voted to defund, or the House, it's going over the Senate, which is just beyond heinous as far as I'm concerned. But I spent it looking at the documentary that Ken Burns did on the West. And, you know, I've been dealing with this stuff for 43 years, and I am constantly reading and looking at stuff and, you know, keeping up with whatever's going on, because it all changes all the time. And when I looked at that series, and it's probably maybe a 6 or 7 part series, it really, I believe the universe sends me what I need when I need it. It really put in perspective for me in a lot of different ways what it is that I've been doing and how it fits into where I am, and that is in the United States. Because when you look at that history of moving west and you see this country moving west, the decisions of the government to move west, how that interacted with the individual decisions to move west, sometimes totally without the government at all, which means that you've lost control already. What happened when you moved all of those people who had lived for generations in Mexico when it was Mexico and not part of the United States? What happened when it did become a part of the United States and those people got pushed out or absolutely marginalized, totally pushed to the margins? Or Native Americans, of course, getting wiped out altogether. And it was such a good series because it didn't just deal with, say, the pioneers coming across. I mean, it dealt with all sorts of aspects. What happened to the land? What happened to the environment? What happened to the people who were on the land? What was happening in DC? How did the wars impact all of this? And I have to tell you that one of the saddest things that I came away with was, and I hate this because this is work I was sent here to do, and I have to keep doing it. But looking at just that, say, and we'll just say it was 200, although it was actually a little bit less than that year period, it's like, this is who these folks are. They're part of what they came here with as immigrants is that we are now, especially now that we're out from under those repressive sort of monarchies that they came from in Europe, we are going to just go for it and do whatever we want to do. It doesn't matter who we hurt in that process. And one guy in particular who used buffalo as his whole thing, getting the hides and stuff when he became a millionaire over this stuff, finally said, I said, because he had killed off all the buffalo, which of course meant that Native Americans were now in trouble, but they were being moved out anyway. And he said, I wonder if I did this because I really just thought people wanted these buffalo hides. Or did I do it because I just wanted the money and I didn't care what happened in the process? And he thought about it for a minute. And then he said, you know what? I think the truth is I really did it for the latter reason. And the truth is, if that is what we're operating with, the dollar is the bottom line no matter what, and it's white males who have to be the ones who are getting that, then what we're doing right now is just another part of that system. What we're seeing right now is just a continuation of the same sort of idea of who these folks are, which means it doesn't mean don't, stop doing the work you're doing. It's like it's needed more now than ever, but it does give it a greater context in which you realize, oh, this is not just a situation. This isn't just a time we're in. This is like this is who we are. You're going to have to deal with that aspect of it. This is who we are. How does it fit into that as opposed to fitting into, oh, this is what is happening at this time?
Yep. I have to own that. I have to own when I see what's happening with the current administration, I cannot say them. This is us. This is who however it is, however I have been part of this process, this is who we are at this present time, and I have to own that. I own it, and I say, this is us. Now, let's move from there. Let's see what can we do, and how can I act, and how can I act in a way that brings healing to the situation that we are in here in the United States at this time. Of course, and this is where I go back to what is enough. And to be able for us to ask ourselves, as a society, and to be willing to have that conversation as to what would be enough in your life, and because we have this opportunity, and to be able to say, okay, well, if you say that racism is over, that racism is over, that all right, well, let's look at a child in Louisiana in one of the parishes in one of the schools there, and then let's look at another at a white kid at one of the enriched schools. Would you say that those two kids have the same opportunity?
Yeah, it's like, what's your zip code?
What's your zip code, and where are you? Are you saying that they do? Are you saying that the playing field is level? one of the things that I think that I'm really glad we're having this conversation about capitalism now, because I am a capitalist. I'm a capitalist who believes in a capitalism that is like the NFL. The government provides the stadium and the field and the referees. On that now, so that everyone has to play by the same rules. That when you get out on the field, you have to be able to go out there so that we can play under the same rules. But we don't have that right now. Right now, it's balanced. It's in balance. There are people who don't have to play by the same rules. If you have enough money and you can manipulate the system, you can lobby, you can do to where the rules for you are different than the rules for the rest of us in the economic. And that's where I think is that we get to the point where we have capitalism with enough fetters and controls that say, yes, now get out there and do the best you can, get all you can do score as many touchdowns, win as many games as you can possibly can, playing within the guidelines and the rules that we have, so that we have, to the best of our ability, it will never be the same, but at least to the best of our ability, we get that opportunity to do that.
Think about it. I saw the other day.
Yeah, I just wonder.
Keep going.
Go ahead, because I just lost my point.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I love that. I love that when I fall off the point. I sit there and I go, you know what? I just completely fell off the thread, and then so fortunately I have you and Dr. BA to pick it up and to just go fine, and that's where we go.
You see how you counted on me.
It's like double dutch, I mean, get in there and then we just go, no, the ropes are tangled up. We'll get out and let's start again.
But I was just going to say a little thing the other day that said Trump's priorities are immigrants and criminals, and his wife is an immigrant, and his parents were, or grandparents were, and he's a 34 count felon, convicted felon. So, like, why are those his priorities? And I think it's such a good example of exactly what you're talking about. You're not playing by the same rules. There are people, in fact, wasn't it in Texas, where the woman mistakenly did not realize that she could not vote, and she voted, and they ended up giving her prison time for that?
5 years.
Yeah.
Even though she was on probation,
she didn't just
she was on probation,
mistakenly.
she was told that she could.
That's
She was
right.
told
Right.
that she could,
Exactly.
and then she was given 5 years. I mean, this could not, and so much of what they're doing right now is all part of voter suppression to make you afraid to be able to vote. So these are the things that we're continuing to deal with, and this is our opportunity to be able
And
to
the gerrymandering that we're dealing with in Texas.
Exactly, that they're actually wanting to redistrict in the middle, to redistrict so that we'll have 5, so that they can get more seats to be able to try to keep the House. I mean, it's such an extraordinary experience. Well, what I want to know is that as women and women of color, let me ask you both a question, because this is something that how do you keep going? How are you not so angry and so because this is the thing. Whenever I get I have such an extraordinary experience. I have friends, I have cohorts, I have people that I meet on the street, and I get treated so graciously. I don't know how, with what you experience every single day, how do you maintain your decorum? How do you maintain this? I'm asking a serious damn question.
Oh, it's a very serious question. And it's one
it is. We talk about it all the time.
We had a lot of practice at this point. That's how we keep going. And the thing is, one of the things about being in the position that we are, and Renee's experience may be totally different. But one of the things about it is, first of all, I never forget my ancestors. And it's like, if you think this is bad, try going through the shit we went through. Okay, that was bad. You can handle this.
Mhm.
The other
Mhm.
piece of that is, I can't let anybody else be in charge of my joy. If we allowed people to steal our joy, we wouldn't be who we are. And we have always had to
That
deal
joy. I don't
with
care what.
over and make it work and feel
Mhm.
good about making it work so that we could be here for the next generation to carry it on and hopefully get further. That has an incredible value. Resilience is real. And the only way you get resilience is by going through the crap over and over and over again. Our expectations are quite different. We don't expect to
Mhm.
be treated like you're treated. We
Yeah.
would love it, but the truth is that's not our reality. We will strive for it, but the truth is we understand what it's like not to be treated like that. And unless you're just going to be down in the drugs all the time, you learn to make do with what it is that you have. We have such a value for each other. There's such a, I mean, that's why Black folk on the street can speak to each other. We
Yeah.
understand that no matter who you are or where you came from, I don't care whether it was Iowa or Atlanta, we got some stuff in common that makes it
Mhm.
so we say hello, we get it. It is
Mhm.
so incredibly deep. And we can't let other people be the basis of our joy because we're not going to get any from there. If we get it, nice, it's
Mhm.
wonderful. I've had a wonderful life. And most
Our
of it's from
history has taught us that.
absolutely. But,
Mhm.
you know,
We're not going to look for that from
somebody calling me the N word. But the truth is, I am just as much in that as anybody who that has happened to. It's sort of
Mhm.
therefore for the grace of God go I. So the fact that it hasn't happened to me doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens all the time to folk that are like me. It just so happens my experience is different. But I absolutely honor and value the experience of all those folks that it does happen to, because what did the Bible say? What happens to the least of us happens to, and these are your folk, right? These are my folks.
Mhm.
This is happening to. I don't like that. So I fight to change it. And Renee, for you, I think
And
a
my
lot of,
answer is a little slightly different. Yes,
yeah,
it's a slightly different, the same basis though. We know where we've come from. We know what has happened in our past. It's always there as a lesson to us. And again, if they can deal with being whipped by children and by a bad, parent that we would arrest today, if that is what they dealt with, and the killing and the indiscriminate killing and the raping and the children. I mean, it's so I can't imagine that life, but I
Yeah.
know that was their life that they suffered that suffering so that I can sit here and have this conversation with you today. That's always in our head that we carry that much of a legacy that I wish was a little bit more rich in value as we have seen other um, ethnicities and races have, but that's not our reality. So we
No.
live in reality. And I tell you, the one thing that what this country does not want are angry black people. You don't want
No.
that. You think they have this whole mindset that black people are angry and we're always on the edge and we always see racism. Yes, we do always see racism. But you can't. And it seems like you would listen to us since we're the ones that are getting it. But fine, you don't listen to that either. But if we became an angry mob, there would be none. It would be awful. There would be
No.
nothing to stop us. That because we don't just share that anger with just black people. We share
Nope.
that anger with other ethnicities that live
Other
here.
and other marginalized populations and women.
Yes,
And women
right,
who are
right.
and what you're talking, so we are and I think that's where the fear comes in. That's where I think that
Mm,
we've had a setback when we've had uh I can see why the world wouldn't trust us. I thought that when we elected Donald Trump once, that the world would go, okay, you guys went nuts. Great.
mhm,
Sorry, you fixed it. Now we're back. And now we're back into some thing. but we've done it
Yeah.
twice.
Right.
And when we've done it twice, that we are showing the world that we are not as evolved, and that we really that are here in our culture. So we've had this. I feel like that we've had a significant setbacks. Okay, so now
Mhm.
since we've had this setback, where do we go from here? And this is what I love about your podcast. I love about what we're doing in the community. What right now on the 17th, all around the country, there are people who are making good trouble, who are showing up and are saying in the name of our hero John Lewis that we're going to make good trouble. We are not going to allow the status quo to be, because we know that that's not what
Mhm.
is in the best interest for our entire culture, including white males who are in charge.
Oh,
It is not good for them. It is
no, it
not
isn't.
us. It is not good for us. It's not going to help us in the long run. It's going to end up diminishing us and everyone else. So now we have to come back together and find, and what you are doing in all of your work, the work that you're both doing, the work that I'm doing, is that we're seeing how can we bring this back together? How can we repair the tapestry and make it strong, and know that we'll have this beautiful quilt that can truly warm all of us, and to know this is our opportunity today. And by taking the setback and saying, yeah, we got our asses kicked. Absolutely. This is where we are now. Now help me to be part of this process of the reparative and restorative time that we're in.
And to even say
Mhm.
that shows a
Yeah.
sort of optimism, and you have to be optimistic about this, and it means a lot when you are, because despite what we
Mhm.
know, despite our entire history in this country on these shores, we remain optimistic and think that you really don't want to have this as your life. And we're
That's
willing
the optimism. That's the optimism that I feel
It
from
is.
you. That's what I'm talking about when I say the resilience that I see in you, because it
Mhm.
has to come from optimism. It
Mhm.
cannot
Mhm.
come from pessimism. There has to be something that something in, and I want that. I want to live that. I want to absorb that from both of you, so that I can experience that. And that isn't a denial. Optimism isn't a denial of the way things are.
Oh,
It's just
no.
saying that
No.
there is something better. There is something
Mhm.
better, and we ain't gonna give up. We're
Right.
not gonna stop. We are indomitable. We're not going to stop. We're just going to keep going and doing this.
despite
Yeah.
what your history with us has been. And Dennis, I think we're both very strongly people who believe in spirit. And for me, it's not about what somebody is clothed in, literally the
Yeah.
physical body they're enclosed in. I don't think anyone's spirit, stripped of all the crap, wants to be in a situation where they mistreat people. Now, there are people who would disagree with that, but I don't see people
But
in.
there's a very small portion that does that, doctor.
Oh yeah,
But I mean, there is a small
but
portion,
I
but the
don't
rest of us, we don't see that.
with people, right? I don't
Right.
think
Right.
that is humanity as a whole. I think you're always
Mhm.
going to have that factor over there, and
Of
that's
course.
okay for them to do that. The thing about it is, I don't think that's the way most people are, and because that group ends up being so vocal, they end up dragging all of you in with it, whether you want to be
Mhm.
there. Just like we talk about
Mhm.
Trump voters as a monolith, and they're not. They're people who are, they abhor what he's doing right now. It's like, you didn't vote for that. Well, at the very least, we can say it wasn't like you bought a pig in a poke, because he already told you what he was going to do, and you had the first time he was in office to see what he was capable of, and now all the rails are off. But despite that, we understand
Yeah.
that is a part of you that as far as I'm concerned, sort of can be rescued.
Sure.
so that you don't end up getting painted with that brush, that your good intentions do come out, that that spirit of wanting to have humanity not just be okay, but to thrive is there, and we're willing to fight for it.
Mhm.
And that's it. And this, I think
And
this
that's
is the most,
any kind of power. Mhm. No, I was just going to say that any kind of power that we have, we're trying to exercise it. It took us back. We've got the wind knocked out of us, and some of us believe that it was a fix was in. That's what I believe. And anybody who wants to challenge me on that, please do. I believe the fix is
If
in
he says if
because
it's up,
people who have that kind of money, hmm,
I said, even he said,
yeah,
I mean, there are tapes where he
oh,
said,
right.
if it hadn't been rigged, I wouldn't have won this thing.
there we have, and his,
So we
I,
know.
I think one of the most pernicious lies that he invests in is the lies of victimization. That
Mhm.
your problems, people, are being caused by someone else. That what that does is it absolves me from ever having to look inside myself. That
Right.
means I don't have to work on myself, because no, all my problems are out there.
Hmm.
And Daddy, you take care of them. Daddy, you go ahead and you're going to get rid of all my problems and I promise. But here's the thing. What everyone knows is the minute that those problems are, then suddenly something else has to be, because that's the culture of victimization. If I felt myself as the victim, that's what I love so much about your optimism is this, because you refuse to play the victim.
No,
John Lewis
no,
would
no,
never play the victim.
no.
Look at his life. Look at where he was.
Hmm.
Look at that Edmund
And
Pettus
he was an
Parade.
actual
Look at
victim.
and that's just one event. Look at the rest of
Hmm.
his, and when he was in Congress and all the work, he refused to see himself as a victim. He was
Yeah.
victimized. There is no
Hmm.
question that the man was victimized, but he refused to see himself
That
as a
wasn't who
victim.
he
He
was.
always took his
Right.
own agency. He always would take,
Hmm.
and that's what I so admire about him. And that's what I think that the most destructive part of the Trump agenda is that victimization of the people, and the othering, and saying that all of our problems are because of this, because it's a lie.
Yeah, and just like this is why I will not have anybody on this show or have any discussions in my personal life about the trans population being the reason why the world has gone off its axis. I don't agree with that, number one, in any kind of scenario, even if it was 98% trans and 1%, 2%,
Right.
I wouldn't believe that. But I also don't think that anyone really wants that part of their life to be that public, that they have to make this a bit about being dragging people out into the public square about this. I don't want to talk about the hysterectomy I had. I don't like dealing with that discussion. But if I had to be somehow marginalized as a person because the only thing I've done in my life that should be talked about and I should be dragged into some kind of penance for is that I had a hysterectomy. I just don't know what that would be for my whole
Exactly.
world, right? So I don't want to have these discussions about something that doesn't matter to the rest of the entire population. 0.05% of the population making decisions that's best for them has
Exactly.
nowhere, doesn't require my even opinion on it. So I'm not going to have this discussion. But they
Exactly.
have allowed that to happen to them. Or they meaning those people that have invested that or hooked helped themselves to that wagon. For some reason, they have allowed themselves to go down that rabbit hole, and that has become the reason why they vote the way they do. And I'm sorry, I just think I have.
It's a convenient fear. It's a convenient
Mhm.
fear place to be able to say, you know what? Let's take all your angst, and there's plenty of reasons to be anxious in today's world.
Mhm.
The world is changing so fast. So much is happening both with AI and in our capitalist
Yeah.
structure, and we're dealing with all the governmental situation. There's plenty of anxiety. So if you have someone like Donald Trump who can sit there and say, oh, you know, that anxiety, I know where you can direct it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's a familiar place, because when I was looking at that Western thing, it was so interesting. It was like looking at today, because
Mm.
they did the same thing when the Asians came over. It turns out they needed them because they didn't have enough people to be able to build the railroads as quickly as they wanted to put the East with the West after the Civil War. So they brought them over. And then when gold was found and Asians came over, they were very industrious. They worked, they saved money, they bought land.
Mhm.
As the gold was found in 1848, they ended up saying, okay, well, we don't want them here. The reasons we're not able to find our gold is because they've got all the land, or the reasons that we can't get our job is because of them. And it was like, wait a minute, what? You brought them over here to be able to do this, and now you're saying they're no good? And they had
And
brought, of
that's
course,
what Kamala Harris was talking about when she said the same old tired handbook. This is. It's if this was new news, then that would be different. But this is the
they
same
It's
tired
the
playbook.
way they've always operated. And it's like, because it works for them, I guess that's why they keep doing it.
Of
They
course.
also, for 30 years after the West was sort of won and the Native Americans were put wherever they wanted them to be put, there was this Buffalo Bill show that took in millions and millions of people who wanted to see that show all over the country. In fact, all over the world. Well, one of the people said, one of the white folks said, it's the only thing I've ever been able to see where somebody keeps being the victim, keeps in all of it, all sorts of, the wagon trains were being attacked by Native Americans. Native Americans were doing all kind of stuff, right? But so they're victims, but they end up winning all the time. It was like, whatever thing have you ever seen the victims always come out victorious in the end? It just didn't make sense. But it ended up being the
The
basis
story they tell themselves.
whole idea of who this country was. And for a long time, including, I know you know this, don't you, Dennis? When we were growing up, the cowboy movies, the cowboy stories, the cowboy TV programs were the big
Hmm.
deal. You learned about America and who we were. And
Yeah.
one of the things they said was, it was all a lie. It
Yeah.
was just a lie. And you see with the erasing of history why they would want to do that, which is why, again,
Yeah.
PBS, I'm sad that they're trying to, screw them, but I understand why they would, because they just want to tell the truth. They just want to put the documents out there. The
Yeah. We
documents
can't have
exactly.
truth tellers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when you see that, it doesn't make me
Mm.
love America any less. I love America and I've been all over the world. What it makes me do is understand it more and understand what I'm operating with. So, this whole fear of people knowing who we are, people know who we are. You're not going to hide that history. It's our history, for Pete's sake. And all this effort going into
Well,
banning.
I don't think it was even that. Yeah, I don't even think it was that they were really afraid of anything, or at least they were trying to blame the kids being afraid of their history, or they were taught to be afraid. No, the parents never knew, and that was a shame. And when they heard it from their own children, this didn't make sense to them. So now we have to figure out what that can't be true. So I'm going to find things to make it so that it's not true. And if I
Yep.
have to go and ban books, if I have to make people, marginalize people again, if I have to take of somebody's rights right next door to me again, if I have to do these things so I can maintain my own facade, that's what I'm going to do. But this country only allows people to live in that facade who are of a different hue. You
Exactly.
can't live that facade if you are of any kind of color. So it just
Yep.
doesn't, we don't work in the same
No.
with the same information. We
Yeah.
work with a lot of history and accurate representation of
Exactly.
that history. And it's
Human,
unfortunate.
position, because that means that you got a heavier burden because you are operating where Renee said.
I know.
That you can do things, you can challenge things in a way that we would not have the same kind of credibility doing. That puts a big burden on you, and it makes you the possibility
Exactly.
because you're
And it gives me the opportunity. It gives me the opportunity to share the burden, because you have the burden. If both of us, if all three of us are sharing the burden, because I sit there and I go, when I'm growing up, I look at all the heroes and I see men, white men, as all these examples of all the people who were succeeded, who succeeded, who were at the top of the game. Who are you looking at? Who are you looking at as you're growing up? As you're growing up, and who are you looking at? If you, this is why it just drives me nuts when we take these pictures off. We take the pictures off of the walls of people and how do little boys and girls, if you're not being able to look at the culture and say, wow, I can aspire to be that. I can aspire. Why? What is the value? What incredible value that must be. And that's where we have to have our history. We have to make sure that the examples are there for us to be able to aspire to. I have to tell you, I'm embarrassed by the behavior of white men right now. I feel that we've lost our sense of shame. And when we can't feel embarrassed by something, when I can't admit that I made a mistake,
and then turn it around and make it sound like you're being oppressed.
Exactly, by
using that exact word.
And that to me, it takes all the humanity. It takes all the humanity out of it, because if I cannot be humble and to know, you know what, that was awful what I just did, or awful what I just said, and I need to make amends for how I said it and what I did, because I want to learn and grow. That is a deeply important part of the growth of the human being.
And when you're in charge and you don't do it,
right.
you give people permission to do the same thing and treat other people the same way. And we're seeing that in spades.
Yes. So I accept the burden.
It, and it's actually devastating, though. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What is devastating, Renee?
As we're seeing the lack of humanity, and knowing that your one stroke of your pen will kill thousands of people within days, or a person, a 4-year-old with cancer.
Yep.
You don't care. It means nothing to you when you're talking about taking medical assistance away from people who cannot work. We have to put work requirements on, but you can't. A 4-year-old can't go to work. That 4-year-old that needed the assistance from the government to pay for the cancer, that you sent that child to another country. These are the things that what do you think is going to happen to people who cannot get the services that they need? They will die off. And if that's your point, that will happen. If your point is to make sure that people who are disabled never step foot in this country or work in this country or have anything to do in this country, well, that's almost 40% of your population, because disabled people, you don't always see their disability. So you will be surprised how many people are disabled and use those services because they can't afford their own disability, because who can afford to pay for a doctor? Just the doctor. Forget if you need testing, if you need to be hospitalized. I mean, you're killing people long term. And that long term may just be a year, but it's long term. And it will continue to happen because you're not going to put anything back in place. And when you do, and of course, we talked earlier about when things started to really make a difference. When that Black man stepped his foot in that White House, that was it. That was it. Everything had to change.
The race was over after that. When he got elected, all kind of race was over. No more race issues.
No,
I know, and
no,
what
they did not.
the
No.
backlash from that, and the rebound that I did not
Mhm.
expect. I did not expect. I was, and again, this is white privilege. See, white privilege can sit down and to say, well, that's over, and now we're done. Oh no.
We elect
Oh no. All that did was to rip the scab. All that did was to rip the bandage
Mhm.
off and open up that wound so that we could then have to deal with what was really there. It was really there that was just papered, that was just papered
Mhm.
over and wonderful. You know, I wish more people could have the experience I had. But when I was out in LA, and I had made a friend with the Houston Oilers. His name was Toady Smith. His brother was Bubba Smith. Bubba Smith an amazing actor. He was went to Michigan State. He was
Mhm.
an All Pro, and he played football. But then he went out there and went out to LA. I got the opportunity to go to one of his parties. So, and when I drove up to the house, I drove up to the house and I went up, and you had to be checked in by the person whether or not you were on the list, whether or not to go in the party. I am in this party. It is 99% black. And I'm walking around, and I say hello to Bubba and I say hello to Toady, and they greet me and I'm fine. But I get an opportunity to see what it is like. I get an immersive opportunity to be here with everyone having a good time, with everyone and people looking at me like, who are you? What are you doing here? But still, I bet to be able to have that experience, I would just love more white men to have that actual experience, to actually see what does it feel like. What does it feel like when a black person walks into one of these big country club or one of these events and goes, "Oh, it changed my life."
Mhm.
what?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
And
I
it's
mean, you know, and
interesting.
not everybody takes that way.
Yes, yes. Some people would never
Mhm.
be able to get over the discomfort of being the only one.
Oh,
But
yeah,
Right.
it helped me in an empathy exercise to be able to see that, but then it also helped me to feel the amount of acceptance that I felt. That's the
There you have
lovely
it.
part. I have been over the course of my life, I have been treated with such graciousness by the black folk I know that I have been around in my entire life. I have been treated with such generosity and love and kindness and respect. I want to reciprocate that. I want every single person to have that experience that I have had.
and think about it when you
But
when black,
that's what you gave.
that's right, and people feel that and they give it back, which just goes to show you how
Mhm. That's right.
being able to do that, and then contrast it with somebody like Dylan Roof.
Mhm.
That's what he got. And what did he do? He ended up shooting 15 people in that church
Was it
in
the
San
Mother Emanuel? No, it wasn't.
Emmanuel.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly. And that was what he got.
yes, and I feel like
Mhm.
people are afraid that that's what's going to happen. I saw it all the time with my students because I would get them to do an out of comfort zone experience that they chose. And a lot of them chose to go, they were predominantly white students, and they chose to go to black churches, sort of to see if it was like they had seen in every movie they had ever seen, if it was really like that. And they talk about in their papers, like what it was like, sitting out in the parking lot before they went in, sweating, wondering, like what's going to happen when I go in there. And they go in there and they have the experience that you did, where they're embraced, people are glad to see them, they're treated very kindly, and they end up feeling ashamed because they say they realize that what they were dealing with out in the parking lot was what they were thinking would happen if that person had come into their church.
Exactly.
It's
And would they
not
have had that same experience? And my only problem, whenever I've gone to black churches, my only problem has been the length. I'm
I
sorry.
just was saying,
Hour
they
three.
always
Okay,
come
we're
to
going into. All right, we're going into hour three. I'm
I said, we
sorry.
having
I'm
fun
not.
up in there.
I'm not.
We having fun.
I know.
And
But
that's the
that's
second time you would have
I'm
church
having
that
to
week.
adapt. That's my
Exactly.
adaptation to be able to understand.
It's like y'all say, tell me about Jesus,
Look,
and
let me
then
tell you, that's a people thing. That's a people thing because everyone says the same thing. How is it that I go in here, he spent by the time I come out, it's lunchtime. What happened to those hours? And sometimes it can feel real long, sometimes it can feel very long. But I do like the fact that what I think, Aunt Donnie, when you talked about they go to church, I also think it's because people believe church is a safe place. So
Yes.
if I'm going to go ahead and immerse myself in a situation like that, I'm going to do it where I know I would be covered by God, right, in a way. And that's fine. However you need to come to Jesus, come to Jesus. And that is what they experience it, and they get it when they come in the door. We are huggers. We love to be
Exactly.
um,
I mean, there was
in embracing
never
people.
a greater manifester of DEI than Jesus. So I want to see the actual practice of what
Yeah.
Jesus talked about how he bring that in. Let's talk. You want to have that. You want to have a Christian nation. But well, why don't we start first by emulating
Yeah.
the life of and the practices of
Mm.
this person who you deify. Why don't we do that? Show me the example of how you're living like he asked you to live. He asked you to, this is
Live,
very, I
right.
mean, this isn't even clouded in some kind of mystical way. No, these are practical terms. Walk this path.
Yes.
yeah. Did
Hmm.
you see the other day the member of
No,
Congress
we
that
wouldn't be able to go.
he said, I want to talk about what the Bible says about homosexuality, and he stood there for a full minute and said nothing at all, and then said, "I yield the floor."
I
Isn't
love that. I
that great?
love that.
I'm surprised I
That's
didn't say
great.
it.
But I can't tell you what it says about adultery, and I can tell you what it says about coveting your neighbor's or coveting your neighbor's
Path,
goods.
You're
which is the things that your neighbor has,
Yes.
and
mistreating.
lying and killing and doing that. There's so much that we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to heal. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so glad I was on the program today, because I needed you both. I came here to
Oh, thank
learn
you.
and to grow and to spend time, just spending time. If I had a needle and thread, and I'd be there making these stitches and learning on this quilt as we're getting as we're putting this together. And I I just feel, and you say, no, take that. All right, here, we'll back up that stitch. We'll find that, and you teach me, and that's what we're doing, is we're creating this metaphorical quilt of humanity that I get a chance to do when I see
Mm-hmm.
the love in both of you. I see the acceptance of me and my journey and my story and the validity that I have and that I offer the same, and that this is the way we can live. This is a model for how all of us can do it. And I feel it. I feel it on a visceral level, down to me. I feel it. I feel it just so lovely. And I'm so grateful to be here with
Well,
both
the
of you
reason you feel
today.
it is because
I'm glad you are too.
Oh, I feel it. I feel it. And that's one of the ways. And
Yes.
I want anybody who's listening to this, I want you to know that I'm working my way through Dr. BA's family. Not only have I had her on my program, but I've also had Renee, and I'm going to be doing Renee's daughter, and I'm working on your daughter. I'm both the Kenyan daughter and your daughter, who is the spiritual coach. I'm going to be working my way all the way through down to the children of this family, because I'm just immersed in that. I just love this family. I just think
Oh
y'all
gosh.
y'all are a
Oh, thank
brilliant
you.
lights in the darkness, and we're going to expand that light,
Yes.
and we're going to do it together.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks so much.
I
And
know
that
mine.
actually was going to be my question about. Oh, yeah, I was exactly right. And I would tell you that it is part of what I was going to ask next, but you're answering it already. But what things are you doing to encourage your work in that area of DEI? And
Right here,
I
I'm
know
I'm
that you
taking
reached
I'm
out.
taking this Bennett Alexander family, and I'm sitting there going, I have lots to learn from these powerful lights and these so many, and I have lots to learn, and it's a way for me to learn and grow and expand my consciousness and expand my, and so and so like you, Dr. BA, I feel very guided by the universe, and I was guided to you and to
Mhm.
you,
How did
Renee,
that
and to the
happen?
family. And so I'm digging deep here. Bloom where you're planted. Dig into this family. Let's see what all of us are going to learn from it. And so there's a richness here that I'm getting an opportunity to do, and that y'all are doing, and this is terrific.
Can you
Renee,
tell
that,
us how you got in touch with Aunt Dorney? How'd that
Pardon?
happen? Can you tell us how that happened that you got in touch with Aunt Dorney? And thanks for the compliment for the richness. But
How
how did
did
you get in touch?
I don't remember. I remember there was something on, Doctor. There was something on one of your social media posts or whatever that I saw that just dazzled me. And I talked to my producer about it, and we reached out to you, and you said yes. We were both looking at each other, and she said yes. We were like this is like holy shit. Suddenly, you ask the universe for something, and the universe says yes, and we went, oh. So we scheduled it right away, because you're in such demand, and you're in such to know that this was like a high point for us, that we were going to be able to actually talk to Dr. Dawn Bennett Alexander. And so we did this, and you were so gracious to come on the show, and gracious to be able to do and to play with us, and to be able to. So that's how it happened. It was one of those serendipitous things, that one of the things that had reached out and reached us, and I went, all right, why not? What can we lose by asking? And you said yes.
yeah. And never regretted it. I love it. I
Great.
felt
I know it's been awesome. That helped us move forward faster. Talking to you, you were pumping us up the whole time. You were like,
Yes,
we got to do
ma'am.
this. We have to. Dennis said, and then also giving us the tools, because you told us anytime we need help, anything we need, to come to you. And your
Right.
producer said the same thing. Renee happens to be her name, which means that she's
A
fantastic.
double
And
Renee. Two Renees, no waiting.
exactly. And then, you put yourself out there. You had the intro that you made for us, that for our show, that we haven't been able to use yet, but we're getting there. And it's been awesome to have you be in our corner. So thank you so much for
It's
that.
my pleasure, and this is why,
yeah.
because as we as we resurrect and help DEI, we know that it's not dead. We know the value of it, because we know that diversity, we know how valuable it is. And so we've taken a hit, as people are trying to say, but we know that we know how important it is. Every business person, every business leader knows that if you're going to market and work to the public, you better have the best talent on the field. We know this. I mean, you look at the NFL. Imagine if the NFL were only white men today. What would we be losing? What would we be losing in the talent? Imagine if in Hollywood there were only white men and women as the main actors. Now, what talent would we be losing? Where would any place that you look, when you see diversity, it grows. It is one. So we know this is coming back. We know it's going to help, and I'm just glad to be part of it. I'm just being glad to be part of us reclaiming the truth and reclaiming the value of DEI.
Thank you for your
Dennis,
work.
it's
Wonderful. Right.
very, very privileged to have you have that kind of awareness, and at the same time, be able to walk your walk.
Thank
So
you. Well,
thank
I
you
can
for
do
that.
it for absolutely selfish reasons. I know that for me and for the world, this is the best thing. I don't have to sacrifice and say that, oh, I don't have to do that. I can do it for selfish reasons. I can say it's the best for me and everybody else if we bring everyone to the table. It actually is. I believe it to my core. I've seen it over and over and over again.
And Dennis, it really isn't, and this is so important for people to understand, it really isn't any simpler, any more complicated than that. It's no more complicated than that. You
Yeah.
grew by having me and Renee in your life. We grew by having you. If we just dealt with that, the growth that we experience from other people, the opening up of things that we didn't know, of knowing what that ray was when it was pointed one way as opposed to another, that's not a lose situation. It is a win-win. It's just that simple. Getting there is the hard part.
Exactly.
Putting each other
Yeah.
crap away is the hard part.
And so let's just have John Lewis lead us through that, but as he is with us in the spirit, because that's what he would say, and that's exactly how he would put it. Because
Get in
the
good
only
trouble.
thing we don't have in us is quit. We keep coming back just like he did, and we will know that, because that's what the generations, that's what our great grandlings are going to be able to experience, because we were here, because we were part of the process, part of the tapestry
Yes.
of this quilt that we're creating.
Yeah. Dennis, I have just a few rapid fire questions for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Good to know. What is your favorite movie?
The Right Stuff.
Oh,
I just
gotta get
interviewed Sam
okay.
Shepard's daughter. I mean sister. So I'm feeling very close to that, to Sam and his.
Oh, wow. That was some great. I can't wait to watch that. Um, and if you could go any place in the world, where would you go?
Italy, Tuscany. That some kind of something about that just feels just very, very right. The Tuscan sun. That I have no idea what it would be like or whatever, but I just that would be the place.
Oh, that's exciting. My sister just came back, so she had a fantastic time. Yeah.
Stay back.
Yeah. hmm So
Thank you so
we'll
much.
see you
For
over
this
see you on
experience.
in the Tuscan field. What is it? The Tuscan
Under the
wine
sun.
country? Is that
Tuscan
it?
sun, under the
Tuscan sun?
Tuscan sun. Oh, thank you both, dear
Thank you
lights,
so much, Dennis.
for being here today, for offering me a chance to be with you, chance to have this beautiful time.
Thank
It's
you,
been a
Dennis.
pleasure. As always, dealing with you is a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.